Ever since the beginning of the Smash Bros franchise, something that's never ceased to impress me is its character selection. With every installment, we see the introduction of a whole host of new faces, making the already massive cast even bigger. Most of these guys are slowly added onto the roster as the series progresses, but a small handful have been there since the very beginning. Unfortunately, this has left a bit of a disparity between the newer and the older fighters. While the more recently released characters are absolutely packed with attacks and callbacks that reference their respective games, the original 12 feel pretty dated by comparison. Some suffer from having movesets that are pretty generic, while others have the issue of lacking references to their more modern appearances. When it comes to that latter category, one of the biggest offenders is none other than Mario. Welcome to Redesigning Smash, a series where we take a look at current Smash movesets and give them a new lick of paint. The aim of this is to modernize or declone characters so that they're more representative of their in-game appearances. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo's very own poster boy. To me, when it comes to Mario's neutral special, there's nothing more fitting than what he has currently. The Fireball is a perfect fit for the move and is such an iconic attack across the Mario franchise, so I don't really see any reason to swap it out for something different. If anything, I'd consider changing the way it works slightly to function more similarly to the way it does in the 2D Mario games. Rather than being limited to one Fireball at a time, Mario would instead be able to fire up to 3 in rapid succession, although they'd be slightly weaker than normal. But this is just a minor tweak. The real changes start with Mario's new side special. Here I decided to incorporate Mario's main companion from his latest main series outing, Cappy. With Odyssey being as amazing as it is, this just seemed like an absolute no-brainer to me. For this move, Mario would throw Cappy outwards. I guess in a way, you could draw a bit of a comparison to Falco's down special here, in the sense that this move would act as a reflector, but only during the initial throw and not on the return. However, there is a lot more to this move than meets the eye. One major thing that had set it apart from Falco's reflector is that Cappy would stay out until a few seconds after the B button is released. This may seem like an odd choice at first, but it provides the perfect opportunity to bring in one of Cappy's other utilities from Odyssey. If Mario runs into Cappy while thrown out, he's granted an extra jump. While this isn't particularly useful on the ground, it opens up a whole can of worms for Mario's air mobility, and I'll expand on this very shortly. For now though, how about we take a look at Mario's new down special. For this redesign move, instead of using FLUDD, Mario would now perform the famous ground pound. It honestly baffles me that this isn't part of his moveset already, considering the technique's huge legacy across the Mario franchise ever since Super Mario 64. I feel like this is long overdue. The attack itself would work fairly similar to Yoshi's, but with a bit of a twist. If the player were to hold down the B button instead of just pressing it, Mario would use his much faster homing spin ground pound from the Galaxy games. If an opponent happened to be beneath Mario during this attack, he'd loosely lock onto them, travelling in their rough direction at high speed. Using the attack off stage would be a pretty risky manoeuvre, however, as it would lead to almost certain death. But that's not it for the ground pound. Super Mario Odyssey introduced a ton of new ways to move around in the air, one of which being the ground pound dive. I had so much fun using this move to get around, and I feel like it would work really nicely as part of Mario's moveset. The dive would be activated simply by pressing B again during a ground pound, allowing Mario to move forwards in the air. Much like in Odyssey, this technique could be combined with Cappy for even more utility. If the player were to throw out Cappy using the side special and then dive into him using the down special, they'd essentially gain another jump. This change would grant Mario so many more movement options in the air and would greatly improve his already solid recovery. Pretty fitting when you remember that the man's name was originally Jumpman, and that jumping is kind of the whole point of most of his games. Now, seeing as I removed FLUDD as Mario's down special, I thought the up special would be the perfect place to reintroduce it into his kit. In Mario Sunshine, FLUDD's main function was to act as a water jetpack, so using it as a recovery rather than a mini Squirtle just makes a lot more sense to me. At first, I did think about giving him the hover nozzle, which would probably work a bit like Rob's recovery, but looking at the movement options he's already gained from having Cappy and the ground pound dive, I felt like that would be a little little bit overkill. Instead, I opted to go with the rocket nozzle, and this one's pretty straightforward. Mario would shoot up into the air using a jet of water, and the longer the move is held, the higher he goes. The water from FLUDD would have a bit of a wind box, just like in the old Down special, but wouldn't do any damage. Having this move would give a significant boost to Mario's vertical recovery, and because it wouldn't send him into freefall afterwards, it could be combined with his other specials to really mess with the opponent. For the most part, Mario's neutral attacks are very solid. Some of them are neat references, like his classic punch kick combo from Mario 64, which was completely useless in that game, but that's besides the point. Across the board, his neutrals aren't super flashy or anything, but at the end of the day, they really don't need to be. I mean, this is Mario we're talking about after all. However, I did make a few alterations here and there to spice things up just a little bit. First and foremost, I swapped out Mario's current dash attack for another technique from Mario's 3D games, the roll. I believe it first appeared in Mario 3D Land, but it wasn't particularly useful in this game. In Odyssey, however, this couldn't be further from the case. Rolling around at the speed of sound is a great way to get around, and it would translate nicely into this moveset. Moving on to Mario's smashes, I decided to keep his forward smash the same, since it's just a really satisfying move to land, and it's become a key part of Mario's moveset as the Smash series has gone on. I did end up changing his other smashes though, both of which would now incorporate Cappy. The up smash would be a homing toss and would have Mario throw Cappy upwards in a kind of curved uppercut-like motion. The down smash, on the other hand, would have Cappy spin around Mario rapidly, damaging opponents on either side of him within a certain radius. In a similar vein to these smash attacks, Mario's grab animation would also involve Cappy, with him being on top of the opponent's head while Mario holds them, almost as if he's trying to capture them. Now, I had to keep the back throw the same. I think the reference to the Mario 64 Bowser fights is super cool, and it's such a perfect fit. The up throw though, is a different story. Here, I saw the opportunity to bring back the super jump punch. Mario would perform his classic block breaking motion, knocking coins out of the opponent and sending them upwards. With the move no longer being used for his up special, it just seemed fitting to bring it out of retirement here. Speaking of which, FLUDD Squirt Nozzle would now take the place of Mario's forward throw. Unlike most throws, this one wouldn't do any damage, but would send the opponent pretty far out, potentially putting them in a tough spot. Mario's current final smash has always been kinda to me. It doesn't really reference much aside from being loosely based on his fire theming, and functionally, it doesn't particularly stand out either, being one of the more average finishes among the crowd. Personally, I'd love to see the T-Rex transformation from Mario Odyssey as an alternative. Cappy would take control of the dinosaur and let loose on the opponents, crushing them beneath his feet. If I were to compare it to another final smash, I'd say to think of it as a slightly more controllable version of Piranha Plant's one, with the T-Rex taking the place of Petey. From a cosmetic standpoint, I largely left Mario alone in this redesign. I will say though, I would really like to see his old mushroom taunt return. To me, that was one of the most iconic taunts in the whole of Smash and represented the mushroom power-ups nicely, so it was a shame to see it removed in Ultimate. Aside from that, I do think it would be nice if he did the star dance and threw out a peace sign like in Mario 64 for one of his victory animations, because sure, why not? That about covers it for today. I'd love to hear what you think about this fresh new take on old Mario's moveset, and if you have any ideas of your own, be sure to let me know. My goal with this redesign was to lean into some of Mario's modern appearances a bit more, specifically Super Mario Odyssey, although I think I may have gone a little overboard in that department. Regardless, if you'd like to see me take a crack at redesigning any other characters in particular, be sure to keep the suggestions coming. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.